So friends, as you probably know, the Trump Organization, Donald Trump's namesake, is on trial in New York, being criminally prosecuted for a whole bunch of felony crimes, including running a 15-year-long criminal scheme to defrauding the taxpayers of New York. And the prosecutors gave their closing arguments on Friday. Did you hear what the prosecutors told the jury about what Donald Trump himself did? Let's talk about that, because justice matters. Hey all, Glenn Kirshner here. So the jury started deliberating today in the criminal trial against the Trump Organization. Now, it's a trial in which Donald Trump's longtime chief financial officer, Alvin Bragg, testified for the prosecution. He testified against the Trump Organization. And he testified after pleading guilty himself to a whole bunch of felony charges, including the lead charge of participating in a 15-year-long criminal scheme to defraud in the first degree that was, being run out of the Trump Organization. Now, you may recall that the district attorney for Manhattan, Alvin Bragg, authorized a prosecution against the Trump Organization, authorized a prosecution against Alvin Bragg, but when Bragg's top prosecutors, Pomerantz and Dunn, came to him and said, DA Bragg, we've got the goods on Donald Trump. We have enough evidence to indict him, and we have enough evidence to secure a conviction. Bragg killed that investigation. He refused to authorize charges being brought against Donald Trump himself. And that makes what the prosecutors argued in their closing to the jury all the more curious. Because on Friday, in closing arguments, DA Bragg's prosecutors told the jury that the evidence that was introduced at the Trump Organization trial proved that Donald Trump himself committed crimes. Here is the reporting about the ongoing Trump Organization trial. Headline: Prosecutor, evidence shows Trump explicitly okayed tax fraud. And that article begins, in the end, it wasn't a last-minute smoking gun, but a prosecutor insisting that evidence shows Donald Trump was aware of a scheme that his Trump Organization's executives hatched to avoid paying personal income taxes on millions of dollars worth of company-paid perks. After telling jurors on Thursday that Trump, quote, knew exactly what was going on with the scheme, Assistant Manhattan District Attorney John Steinglass followed up by citing trial evidence and testimony that he said made clear Mr. Trump is explicitly sanctioning tax fraud. Quote, this whole narrative that Mr. Trump is blissfully ignorant is just not real, Steinglass said. But Steinglass's sudden focus on Trump's knowledge of the scheme, right as the Trump company's trial was ambling to a conclusion, begged the question, why wasn't he charged? Curiouser and curiouser, right? Why did Alvin Bragg refuse to authorize the indictment of Donald Trump when the evidence, according to his prosecutor, proves Donald Trump committed crimes? Well, maybe DA Bragg is now having buyer's remorse regarding his decision to refuse to let his prosecutors do what they recommended should be done, prosecute Trump. Here is today's reporting from the New York Times. Manhattan DA hires ex-justice official to help lead Trump inquiry. And that article begins, "The Manhattan District Attorney, Alvin Bragg, is hiring a former senior Justice Department official with a history of taking on Donald Trump and his family business as the office seeks to ramp up its investigation into the former president. The official, Matthew Colangelo, who, before he became a top official at the Justice Department, led the New York Attorney General's civil inquiry into Mr. Trump, is likely to become one of the leaders of the district attorney's criminal inquiry into the former president. The hire marks the latest turn in a long-running investigation that has proceeded in fits and starts in recent years. When Mr. Bragg took office in January, his predecessor, Cyrus R. Vance Jr., had directed prosecutors to begin presenting evidence about Mr. Trump's inflation of his assets to a grand jury. But Mr. Bragg grew concerned about the strength of the case. In February, when he told two senior prosecutors leading the investigation, Mark Pomerantz and Carrie Dunn, that he was not prepared to authorize charges, they resigned, clouding the future of the inquiry. And so, friends, to recap, prosecutors said, hey, DA Bragg, we have enough evidence to indict and convict Donald Trump. And Alvin Bragg said, nope, we're only going to go to trial against Weisselberg and against the Trump Organization. Weisselberg, of course, pleaded guilty and testified against the Trump Organization. And then in closing arguments in the trial of the Trump Organization, Bragg's prosecutors told the jury, folks, you saw, the evidence shows Donald Trump committed crimes. So what does Alvin Bragg do? He runs out and hires another prosecutor, obviously trying to send the signal, I'm really going to hold Donald Trump accountable this time. Maybe he's trying to fool us again. I don't know if this is a legitimate move to try to hold Trump accountable for his crimes, or if it's just Bragg rearranging the deck chairs on his sinking tenure as district attorney. What we do know is when he had the opportunity to hold Donald Trump accountable for his crimes, he flinched. And that's no kind of justice. And justice matters. Friends, as always, please stay safe, please stay tuned, and I look forward to talking with you all again tomorrow.